What's up, YouTube? Today I'm going to be reviewing J.S. Mill on Liberty. This book is a book about what Mill refers to as civil or social liberty, which he defines as the nature and limits of the power which can be legitimately exercised by society over the individual. And Mill has an interesting take on history, which kind of touches upon other philosophers, political philosophers, such as Thomas Hobbes and John Locke. For instance, he kind of agrees with Hobbes that societies and governments were first established in order to protect the individual from the other individuals around him. But then he kind of agrees with Locke because he says that governments, such as tyrants, can oppress the individual just as much as another individual could in the natural state of nature. And therefore, he says that history, the first example of which being the United States of America during the American Revolution, made limitations on government. Therefore, the individual will be protected both from the state of nature and from governments. And according to Mill, that most of modern society, which for him is the mid-19th century, is complacent in the fact that the individual is free and that they've achieved freedom and they've achieved liberty. But he takes more of a pessimistic side, and he argues that the individual is still not free because he's being oppressed by the masses of society, which I think myself and many people today would agree is a problem still today, that the masses of society, through social conventions and opinions, can in a way oppress the individual and individual freedoms. So one way, just to say a quote that he says this, is Mill claims that from the highest class of society down to the lowest, everyone lives as under the eye of a hostile and dreaded censorship, not only in what concerns others, but in what concerns themselves. What do I prefer, or what would suit my character and disposition, or what would allow the best and highest in me to have fair play, and enable it to grow and thrive? They ask themselves, what is suitable to my position, what is usually done by persons of my station and pecuniary circumstances, or, worse still, what is usually done by persons of a station and circumstances superior to mine, end quote. So through the social opinions of the masses and the majority of society, we question ourselves on what do we want to wear, how do we act, how do we speak, should I do this or should I do that, based on society. And according to Mill, this is still the oppression of the individual, despite the freedoms from the natural man and government. And he claims that one of the reasons for this is due to the fact that intellectual diversity is not fully reached because the masses only allow certain opinions to be spoken. So for instance, today, someone who's talking about racism wouldn't be allowed to speak freely because that's an unpopular opinion. And I agree with the majority that they're incorrect in their racist assumptions, but the fact that they're not even allowed to speak those assumptions, and that we go to safe spaces and don't allow them to speak those assumptions, is an assumption of infallibility on our part, because we assume that we are right. Mill writes, to refuse adhering to an opinion because they are sure that it is false is to assume that their certainty is the same thing as absolute certainty. All silencing of discussion is an assumption of infallibility. And this is, like I said, just as true today. I saw it in high school, I'm seeing it in college. The amount of scrutiny that anyone gets for stating an unpopular opinion or acting in an unpopular way is just as tyrannical as a law that the government would say to suppress an individual and individuality. And what's ironic, what Mill might say is ironic today, is that it's actually people who are preaching tolerance who are intolerable of others. And Mill also claims that this isn't just social, but even in his day and today, the masses and their social popular opinions can still oppress legally unpopular opinions. His criticism of the U.S. government is, quote, "The self-government spoken of is not the government of each by himself, but of each by all the rest. The will of the people, moreover, practically means the will of the most numerous or the most active part of the people, the majority, or those who succeed in making themselves accepted as the majority. The people, consequently, may desire to repress a part of their number, and precautions are as much needed against this as against any other abuse of power." End quote. So, I thought that On Liberty was an amazing book and completely relevant to modern society, despite the fact that it's about over a century old. It's a great read. I highly recommend it, particularly if you're interested in sociology. So I'm going to have to give it 5 out of 5. Great philosophical work. J.S. Mill, On Liberty. Excellent.